Hello, hello. Welcome to another Ask a Physicist Live. No, I do debates on Monday, Thursday, and Friday. I have not read any of the papers about baby universes. I had a lot of stuff going on today, so I didn't have time. So, we'll see. Oh yeah, I have to clean the glasses. Good point. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Tell you your fortune. True, I am running from debating. True. Am I hydrating? Yeah, probably not well enough, but you know how it goes. Always got to clean the glasses. Why do people believe there are multiverses? Well, it depends on what kind of multiverse. So there's like string theory multiverses, there's like cosmological multiverses, there's mathematical multiverses, there's quantum multiverses. It's a whole bunch of different multiverses, and people believe them for various reasons. The quantum multiverse is the one that I ostensibly believe in the most, insofar as it's not really a multiverse, it's just a whole bunch of worlds kind of layered in the one universe. But like all of these other ones, like, brain verses and things like that, we don't really have good evidence for that, so I don't buy that. Do you have longer hair than your wife? I do not. She has long hair. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she has longer hair than me at this point. How do we get more physicists to collaborate more across theoretical research areas? It already happens surprisingly more than you'd think. Like there's a lot of crossover. Just because there are a lot of people that know each other just by like being in the same department. What is physics? Physics is the study of matter and motion. It's a natural science. How does the quantum field affect the Earth's gravity? Which quantum field? There's a lot of them. Yeah, you gotta be more specific than that. What did you write about to get your PhD? I wrote about conformal geometry, which is a type of differential geometry. Differential geometry is applicable to general relativity. Conformal geometry is a specific type of geometry that shows up in things like string theory and cosmology. Do you have a book? Does my dissertation count? Can you suggest a book explaining quantum field theory for non-physicists? Probably not. I don't think that there are any. Maybe Sean Carroll's second book in his series, The Biggest Ideas in the World, or whatever it's called. Maybe that'll touch on it. I haven't read it, though, so I can't comment. Isn't it true the photoelectric effect works with a classical field? No. No, it absolutely doesn't. Right? Because in a classical electromagnetic field, there is no smallest amount of energy that you can have. And so all you would need to do would just have a really, really high amplitude electromagnetic field at low frequency, and you could kick things out. Right? How do you know if you might be blocked on TikTok? I don't know. Will you ever do an Overwatch stream, Physics Man? I would. If I had a way to answer questions while also playing Overwatch, I absolutely would. When will we win a Nobel Prize? Who knows? Maybe never. Probably never. Can you explain the quantum physics theorem? Which one? Is electric field a particle? No, it's not. Thought you could reproduce it with a classical field. I don't think so. If you have something that says otherwise, DM it to me and I'll take a look. I could very well be wrong about this. What will it take to solve quantum gravity? Look, this is one of those questions that if I knew the answer, I would be doing it, right? What are intensive and extensive properties? Extensive properties are properties that scale with volume or scale with system size. Intensive properties are ones that don't. Do you dream physics? No. I don't even really remember most of my dreams. Do you believe in console supremacy or the PC master race? I'm a PC master race kind of guy. Do you really think gravity affects time? I find it infuriating that they conflate. Yeah, it absolutely affects time. 100% it does. Have they recently discovered... Neutrinos were discovered in the 50s, I think. 1959. Should I choose economics or global politics as subject choice? I'm so confused. Whatever you care about. Best class in Baldur's Gate 3? Probably Wizard. Like, at least that's my favorite. Thoughts on pilot wave theory? It's less simple than the many worlds interpretation, so I don't favor it. But in principle, it could be correct. Are atoms conscious? No. Time has no mass. That's fine. Space doesn't have mass either, but gravity curves space too. Do you also do God Isn't Real Lives? Seen you hop on with it? Yeah, I do. It's just that's Monday, Thursday, Friday. What's the deal with airline food? It's bad. I don't know. Your thoughts on the sterile neutrino? It's a neat idea. I don't know how we would ever prove it though. Maybe indirectly through some sort of mixing, I guess. Thought time affected gravity, not the other way around. No, gravity affects time. Well, rather, gravity is the curvature of space-time. Physicist is still learning. You don't know everything. Yeah, absolutely. You're the guy who excluded students for cheating. Well, yeah, in a class 3 years ago, 12 students of 180 ended up failing my class because of repeated cheating. Yep, that happened. I don't know what excluded means, but how hard is Calc 3 and 4? They weren't hard for me, but I understand that they will be hard for other people. So it's really it's a person-dependent thing. What's your favorite MTG deck strategy? Cheating on mana. Anything that cheats on mana, I love. Especially janky stuff. Do you use Mathematica or MATLAB? I use Maple, actually. Is the universe have a beginning? I'm leaning towards no, actually, but I'd be happy to change my mind if evidence comes out that, again, excludes recollapse. Do you have a problem with people who accept evolution as scientific fact and believe? I don't have a problem with people who believe in God. I just think they're wrong, that's all. Like, I don't have a problem. Like, you can believe whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you can't, but if you want to talk about it, I'll try to convince you that you're wrong. No, speed affects time. The speed required to not impact the mass. Rob, I feel like you have a misunderstanding of relativity. What shape is our universe? Spatially, it seems to be flat. Do you hate AI? No. Are you old enough to have a MySpace account? Barely. I did have a MySpace account. I was like 10. I'm 31, so, you know. Trying to go to school for finance, but I'm not so great at math. Any tips? I don't know what kind of math you need for finance, but you probably don't need much more than calculus, I imagine. So calculus is handleable by anybody with enough prep. So I would suggest just watch YouTube videos, like use Khan Academy, MIT OpenCourseware to supplement what you need. Can you recommend any university that has a good mathematical physics PhD program? No, I don't know which ones do. Obviously, things like Princeton, Stanford, Berkeley, Yale, Harvard, these are all going to be top places if you can get into them. Best university for an aspiring physicist? Any of the ones I just mentioned. Honestly, like it's the obvious ones. Like the best universities are going to have the best physics programs too. There are a few exceptions, but that's generally the case. What's the largest controversy in physics right now? I don't know if it's the largest, but there is some controversy regarding the Hubble tension about how it might be resolved. So that's certainly interesting. What sources would you recommend for self-studying physics? A textbook. You're not going to go wrong with the textbook because it'll be organized in the way that it needs to be. Is a photon a particle? Yeah. Any tips for getting back into physics? It's been about 3 years and you're starting back to fall. Retrain your math skills if you have to. Is consciousness beyond the scope of physical law? I doubt it. Do you ever do the PBS challenges for free merch? No, I don't. Do you believe in the eternal universe, Big Bang, Big Crunch, over and over? That seems plausible to me. Do you know the German meaning of Blitz? I do. You can't afford wireless earbuds? I have them, but the mic quality is not as good. So I use these. Is it a viable position to hold that nothing can't exist as a property of reality? Sure, I mean, that's philosophical, but yeah, that seems plausible. Would you ever react to bad physics in movies or TV shows? Yeah, maybe. If TikTok goes away and they start doing long-form content on YouTube, I might do that. Is there a pole shift occurring? I don't think so. Is the heat death of the universe true? Potentially. Can you explain how pions mediate the strong force as well as gluons? Yeah, so gluons mediate the true strong force in that it mediates the force between color charged things. But there's kind of a residual force, namely you can have like it's like a van der Waals force. So in the same way that like two molecules, even though they're both neutral, can attract each other, you can have a pion-mediated force, which is basically what happens when a proton in one turn. What is it? I can't remember. The pion is virtual in this case, so it's not really a real pion, but you have one of the quarks turns into the other quark emit a pion and then turns the other quark in the receiving quark into a different quark. So that's how it works. It's hard to do without a diagram, though. Can you explain what exactly is inside a black hole? No, because we don't know. If a cell is irreducibly complex, how could evolution be true? Why would you say a cell is irreducibly complex? How does it feel when you discover you've been wrong about something? Depends on how it happens, but it can be very, very relieving or very, very worrying. Why is the speed of light constant? It seems to be the case in our universe. It could have been another way. It could have not been constant. It could have also been that the speed of light was infinite. It just happens to be in our universe. It seems to be the case that the speed of light is constant. In classical mechanics, why is gravity a force, but in GR it seems to behave more like a field? All forces are fields in field theory. That's how it all works. Can you explain us how to do physics in an easier way? How to do physics? I don't know what that question means. Can a field be excited and not localized into a particle? Yeah, sure, the Higgs boson does that. Or the Higgs field does that, right? It has a non-zero vacuum expectation value. Is time a mental construct, or does it exist in the real world? It exists insofar as it's what a clock says. Why do scientists use numbers like million? Because, I don't know, it's fun. And you know what a million is, so you know what a million of those millions are. If an air bubble is in a vat of water and you put a sound wave through it, will it create light? Only if the sound is very, very loud and if it's at the right frequency. I have a video on this. It's called sonoluminescence. Just Google Blitz PhD, or not Google, type into TikTok Blitz PhD sonoluminescence. You'll find my video. Explain the Casimir effect. Yeah, roughly. Okay, so rather than actually explain it, I'm going to tell you to go watch my video on it because it is really complicated to explain, and the standard explanation is not quite right. Essentially, it's a relativistic van der Waals effect. Sorry, a relativistic. Yeah, it's roughly a relativistic van der Waals effect that's pulling the two uncharged plates together. But I go into more detail in a video, so go check that out. Again, Blitz PhD, Casimir force, or Casimir effect or something, you'll find it. As a scientist, do you feel obligated to uphold your values above those who support religion? Above those? I don't know what that means. I don't know. Why would the universe be so well structured if its creation was allegedly random? I don't think that its creation was random. I don't even think that is a thing. What's the difference between a variation and a derivative? A variation is like a vague derivative. Basically. Why does sound travel faster in water than in air? Sound is just particles bumping into each other, and the speed of sound is basically related to how quickly one particle can bump to the next. Water is much, much denser than air, so the particles are closer together, so they can bump into each other faster. What's Ohm's law? It's that the voltage is equal to the current times the resistance. V equals IR. What do you think of Einstein's theory of everything? I don't think about it. Is there a maximum decibel level a sound can be? Yes, otherwise you'll have clipping. So you know how in like a microphone on like a computer, you'll have clipping, so if you go too loud, it'll cut off the sound wave and it'll kind of get funky sounding? Well, there's clipping in the real world with sound, except it's at the bottom edge. So a sound wave goes up and down, up and down, up and down, right? But it's a pressure wave. So you could have a place where there's no air, and then you can't get less pressure than no pressure, than zero pressure. So you'll just have, once you go above 194 decibels, at atmospheric pressure levels, like normal atmospheric sea level pressure, above 194 decibels, you'll have regions where there's just a vacuum. And at that point, we just call it a shock wave. Why does time slow down as you move faster? Well, at least in relativity, you move through space-time at a fixed rate. You move through space-time at the speed of light. And so the faster you move through space, the slower you have to move through time in order to maintain your total speed being the speed of light. Does math have consequences for physics, which dictates chem? I don't know if math has consequences. I don't know what that would mean. Thoughts on Brett Weinstein? I don't think about him. A straight line isn't the fastest path, correct, like a lightning bolt? No, it very well could be. A straight line depends on what the geometry is, but yeah, a straight line is the fastest path. It doesn't mean it's the path of least resistance, though. A lightning bolt doesn't have the path of least resistance. Or a lightning bolt travels along the path of least resistance, not the straightest line, not the shortest path. Wait, Eric Weinstein, not Brett Weinstein. Wait, hold on. There's two Weinsteins, and they're both cranks, but one's a crank in vaccines, and the other one's a crank in physics, right? They're both cranks, though. Any truth to the recent discovery that photons were instant and not speed of light or something? I haven't heard about that, but it's probably wrong. Could we be wrong about the speed of light being the maximum speed? Probably not. Would it be accurate to semi-accurate to describe time as a unit for the measurement of speed? Sure, that's fine. Ask cool questions like, does time behave like a particle? Time doesn't behave like a particle. What is the difference between a partial derivative and a derivative? A derivative tells you how a thing changes entirely. A partial derivative tells you how a thing changes when you just change one input variable. Just dismisses Weinstein even though he's a mathematician. I have more credentials than Eric Weinstein has. I have more publications than he has. I have the same level of education that he has. I've given more talks than he has. I'm equipped to evaluate his credibility here. He's a crank. Is it surprising the early universe was low entropy when that just means matter was evenly spread? No, not really. Perhaps it shouldn't be surprising. How does a qubit work in quantum computing? Why does it need to be so cold? Right, so a qubit is just a quantum system. It's really like any arrangement of quantum systems. But the thing about it is that in order to maintain like kind of the stability of a quantum system, you have to make sure that it doesn't interact with the environment at all. And that means keeping it cold. Did you take math in university or physics or both? I did both. Go on Rogan. If he invited me, I'd probably go just make fun of him. Maybe. Do photons travel in waves or in straight lines? Photons are waves. Photons are the result of an interaction between an electromagnetic or a quantum electromagnetic wave and some charged thing. That's what a photon is. Is there a reason things travel at constant speed through spacetime? It's just kind of a proposition, or it's a postulate of special relativity, roughly. Does your physics expertise translate to audio engineering? No, not really, and I'm not particularly interested in it either. Is there a physics-related reason why pulled pork tastes so goddamn good? No, that's biology, but it is delicious. What's the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? African or European? How does the Heisenberg uncertainty principle limit measurement precision? The Heisenberg uncertainty principle basically says, at least at its most basic form, there is the amount of error that you will have in your measurement of position times the amount of error that you will have in your measurement of momentum has to be greater than a certain amount. And so this means that you can't have zero error in either position or speed, position or momentum. And you can't even have exceptionally good precision in measuring both speed and momentum. Because then you run into the uncertainty principle. How does heat from the sun reach Earth? Via light. Light has energy, it comes to the Earth, and it hits the Earth and gives the Earth its energy. What's your dream job? Are you already doing it? Yeah, I'm already doing it. I mean, I'd like to be a professor at somewhere permanently, so I don't have to worry about applying for jobs more, but yeah, this is basically it. Do the laws of logic exist within the universe or just within our minds? I think that they exist within agents, so our minds. Should we build a particle collider in space? Maybe eventually. What causes something to be fast? It's pushed on hard. What's the most likely way to travel faster than light? I don't think that you can. Young's slit experiment conclusion is not due to a limitation of our recording devices. No, it has nothing to do with our recording devices. Well, it has nothing to do with a limitation of our recording devices. Does carbon dating actually work? Absolutely. When do you think the entire universe will compress back down into a single singularity? Well, I don't know. So it's plausible. That depends on what model we use. Like you can calculate, you can just extrapolate out a linear model and you get like 50 billion years from now. But it depends on what model ends up being true. The linear model is probably not true, by the way. It's just like an approximation. How old are you? I'm 31. Where would you like to be a professor? Ideally, where my wife's family lives, because then she'd be happy and I'd be happy. But who knows? Anywhere in the US would be good. Would you come back to the US to be a professor? That's what I would like to do. What projects does a mathematical physicist get? What projects? The projects that I decide to do. You think hard? I mean, I may even be transitioning to be a proper mathematician rather than a mathematical physicist because I'm applying to a lot of mathematician professorships. But I'll never leave physics. They can't make me. I'll just pretend to do mathematics and actually do physics. What's smaller than a quark? Well, quarks in some sense have zero size, so nothing. But it might be the case that there is something small to the core. We just don't know about it. Have you figured out when you're going to do the time crystal video? No, I was thinking of researching it this weekend, but things got away from me. What if I put an entangled particle through a black hole? Would I still be able to see it flipping? What do you mean see it flipping? So you can never know when the other person has made a measurement. Do you not think if we can bend space-time, we could cheat the law of light speed? Well, so you could, but in order to do that, you need exotic matter, which requires matter with negative mass, which we don't have. What do you think of conformal cyclic cosmology? I love it. It's probably wrong, though. Let's jump down to the bottom. Is Ant-Man smaller than a quark? Ant-Man is fictional. Are you interested in the foundations philosophy of physics? Yeah, to an extent. What do you think about physics graduates going into IT instead of pursuing academics? Look, do whatever you want to do. I'd rather die than do that. Which university has been the most influential in the history of physics? Göttingen, Princeton, Göttingen, is that how you pronounce it? Göttingen? Yeah, Princeton is probably up there. Maybe Caltech? Could you explain the mining for neutrinos that's going on? The mining for neutrinos that's going on in North Dakota? I haven't heard of that. Is steady state theory long dead? Yeah. What's an easy way to remember Maxwell equations? Well, it's just two equations. It's df equals 0 and d star f equals 0. That's it. That's the whole thing. Someone wanted to pivot into physics. What is the best way to start? Get a degree in physics. Or start reading physics books if you don't know the physics and you can't go to university. Göttingen, yeah. I don't know how to pronounce it, but whatever it's called. Who's the GOAT of physics of all time in your opinion? Easily Einstein. Easily Einstein. Is GPA a big deal in physics? If you want to go to grad school, yeah. Why have Bigfoot sightings gone way down ever since everyone started carrying phones with cameras? Good question. Favorite superhero and why? Peter Parker, just because I read Peter Parker comic or Spider-Man comics when I was Spider-Man, because I was reading Spider-Man comics as a kid, because Spider-Man is awesome. At what distance in light years does redshifting happen, and does gravitational lensing affect it? Yes, so gravitational lensing does affect it, but it doesn't affect the redshift. It just makes it easier to see the things that are redshifted. And the distance can be calculated roughly by the Hubble constant, which is 73 kilometers per second per megaparsec. So if you want, if you want something to appear to be moving away from you at, say, I don't know, a quarter of the speed of light, you would need it to be moving away from you, which would give a pretty sizable amount of redshift. You would need it to be moving at around 73,000 kilometers per second. So that would be around 1,000 megaparsecs, or around 3.5 billion light years. So it's very, very far. Isn't singularity just an undefined point? Yeah, well, it's a place where a function is undefined, yeah. What can you do with a Bachelor of Physics? Go be an engineer. Weinstein does not equal Einstein. Yeah, Weinstein does not equal Einstein, very true. Do you believe in numerology? No. How fast do I need to go to blue shift to red light enough to look? I have a video on that. Go watch it. It's in my special relativity playlist. I have a video on that. I think you have to go like 85% the speed of light or something like that. Is the wave function real or just a mathematical tool? I don't know. I lean towards it being physical, but I don't know. Where do photons go in a wave of probability? Where do they go? I don't know what the question means. Is the Big Bang synonymous with a singularity, or could we keep calling Big Bang with a singularity? Yeah, it's not synonymous with a singularity. In fact, as far as I know, most cosmologists don't think a singularity happened. Are there any Dirac variations that spit out greater than 4 gamma matrices? I don't know, man. Probably. The whole spin algebra, I don't understand very well at all. Neil deGrasse Tyson writes in his book that the universe expanded to a few light years across one second after the Big Bang. Yeah, that's about right. That seems right. Is it true that actual infinity can exist? I suppose. I don't see why it can't. Do astrology believers bother you? A little bit. I'm studying mechanical engineering, and I hate physicists. Sorry. Do you believe math? Yeah, you can answer questions, Andy. Do you believe math is discovered or invented? I think it's invented. Best advice given while in school? I don't think I got any advice. Honestly, I don't think I got any advice. I kind of just went with the flow. Well, no, okay, my advisor definitely gave me advice, but not like explicit, like, hey, you want some advice? He just like, he guided me along as how to do things, and I can't think of anything in particular. How does entropy relate to the second law of thermodynamics? The second law of thermodynamics says in a closed system, the entropy is never decreasing. What do you think is the most exciting unsolved problem in physics today? Quantum gravity is the easy answer. Where'd you go for your schooling? I'm not telling. Is it fine to have good physics understanding but bad mathematics? It's fine, but you're not going to be very successful in physics if you want to do physics. What do you wish non-physicists knew? Physics, I guess. I'd like them to know physics or mathematics. What do you think of Star Trek V? I don't even remember which one that was. Are you a believer of the four forces concept? You mean that there are four fundamental forces? It seems, I mean, there are. Can you defeat tag in one sentence using physics? Yeah, all you have to say is to a tag person is just prove it. Like, they're going to make a whole bunch of claims. Just ask them to prove it. Who do you think is the most destructive hack in mainstream science? Anybody who... Hack. Probably Eric Weinstein, actually. He's actually damaging the academic, academia. How can I prove a sphere is locally Euclidean, not a meme learning about manifolds? So when we say locally Euclidean, all that means, like, definitionally, that's the case. But what you can do is, well, it depends on what you're trying to do. But what you can do is you can write in, what is it called? It's a Gaussian, there's a coordinate system where basically you can show that the metric is the flat metric up the second order in a geodesic distance function. That's one thing that you can do. And that's what it means to be locally Euclidean, that there's no first order terms. If people want to know where you went to school, it isn't hard to find. Please don't look for where I am, for where I'm from. I'd appreciate that. Were you once a believer, then became an atheist? No, I was an atheist from the beginning. What school? Do you pick your lips? Yep. What's your area of specialty? Differential geometry and relativity. There was a big crunch. What happened to the photons with wavelength Planck length undergoing blue shift? Well, I don't know if there are any photons with a Planck length wavelength. What's the thing about atoms not being at their lowest possible energy and could suddenly happen? Sorry, what? Did you ever expect to get such a big following on TikTok? No, absolutely not. How close were you to meeting the trip to Prague goal? Good question. So, see that thing up there with the whole subscriber count? That needs to be 500 if you want to go to Prague. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. What's the most difficult class you have taken? It was topology, and it was because I was a dumb freshman who thought I could take a topology class without knowing anything. Do you know a lot about lasers, diffraction, and stabilizing three-dimensional laser defected cube in? I don't know what that last bit means, but I know a fair amount about lasers. How high can you jump? At least a foot. I'm glad you enjoy the peer review paper, the peer review lives, Jorge. Do you think artificial intelligence will play a large role in physics research? Probably eventually. Who do you think was the smartest of the big three? Einstein, then Newton. Tesla doesn't belong on that list. He wasn't even a scientist. The expansion of the fabric of space-time is slowing down. No, it's speeding up. Can you explain the observer effect? I have so many videos about this, but roughly it doesn't have anything to do with observers. It just has to do with interactions. If you have a big thing, like a camera or a magnet, interacting with a quantum thing, then the quantum thing behaves differently. What's the implication of the vacuum energy not being cut off at the Planck scale? You just have a different cutoff. Why can't we walk through walls if we're made up of atoms? Because atoms repel other atoms. You should be a contestant on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I'd lose. Shouldn't the universe be homogeneous since the universe rapidly expanded from a single point? No, because there are slight inhomogeneities due to quantum fluctuations, if you will. That's expected. What do you think of ketchup on tacos? Ugh. What is the universe expanding into? It's not. It's just expanding. Are you interested in space exploration? Yeah. If the universe is expanding, how have we not exited the Goldilocks zone? It's only expanding in regions where there's basically nothing. Tesla's founder of the plugs in your wall and the motors in your car. Well, he's not the founder of the plugs in your wall. He didn't invent AC electricity. He's also not the founder of motors in cars. He didn't invent the internal combustion engine. He arguably invented the three-phase AC induction motor, which is, like, other people have invented other things. He's not in the big three. He was just an inventor. Will you vote? Yeah. Do you believe that free will is possible? No, not really. Is there a before the Big Bang? Yeah, I think so. How did the pandemic impact your experience getting a PhD? It meant I worked from home a lot more. Apparently homogeneous is antiquated. I don't really? I haven't heard that. Most influential physicist of our time? Who, if they're still alive, it might be Penrose. What do you hope is the next big physics breakthrough? I'd like to see something from Desi. How do you reconcile the renormalization process with the concept of infinite quantities? You just shove it under the rug. It's fine. It works. It works. It's fine. What happens to energy absorbed into a black hole if black holes have a temperature near absolute zero? It just increases their mass. Who invented AC electricity? Arguably, it was Faraday. Arguably, it was Faraday. Is the number of new physicists in the world country increasing or decreasing? Probably increasing, which is not good because we don't have enough jobs. What's something cool I could do at home with physics? How safe do you want to be? When did you get your PhD? About 2.5 years ago. Why is the cross product so special to three-dimensional vectors? Well, it also works in 7 dimensions, but roughly it's because the cross product actually produces a bivector, but in 3 dimensions, bivectors are isomorphic, meaning the same as single vectors. So essentially because 3 minus 2 is 1. What's the most significant? What is the most significant invention? Probably the transistor. Actually, the guy who invented the transistor won 2 physics Nobel Prizes. Does the strong force exert force across any distance like gravity, but just get really weak faster? No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, obviously, it dies off exponentially, though. How old were you when you got your PhD? 20. I was about to turn 29. What are your thoughts on dark energy and dark matter since it's occupying at least 86% of all space? Dark energy, who knows what it is? Dark matter, probably just a different type of matter that we can't see. Frank Wilczek is probably up there. Yeah, Frank Wilczek's probably up there. That's true. That dude was, I've heard him, that dude is wild. I've heard him talk. He's a great lecturer too. If you were temporarily anointed king of the world, what would be your first decree? First decree, anybody with over $1 billion has to give it away until they have 999 million. That's number 1 decree. That's decree number 1. Do you think string theory is the most correct theory of everything? No, I don't think so. How big does the universe have to be for it to be a torus? It could be a torus and just be mildly larger than our observable universe. Will sustainable fusion reactors and the benefits of near-free energy positively affect the poor? I hope so. How come magnets can't be used to generate electricity? Oh, they are used to generate electricity. That's how we make electricity. Whoever's asking about your PhD over and over again is trying to figure out where you went to college. Yeah, I'm not going to answer that. So, can I achieve negative mass if you use enough Ozempic? Yes. Does dark matter take up negative space? No, it takes up positive space, regular space. Can we physically observe a state where time doesn't exist? Only by analog. Do you think mechanical engineers are stupid? No. Are we studying the Earth's core to learn about dark matter? No. Will humans discover a wormhole in the universe, and would it look more scary than a black hole? I suspect we will not. But it wouldn't look scary, no. Not any more scary than a black hole. What do you think offers the most promising approach to understanding quantum gravity? Honestly, there's a lot of options, and I don't know which one's the best, because they all have different good approaches. Do you think quantum physics show randomness is possible and determinism is false? No, I don't think so. Do you believe there's anything outside the universe? No. Aren't the forces of nature weird? They just always work without a power source? Well, yeah, that's just the thing that they do. I mean, they have a power source. They have a source that they come from, right? Yeah, magnets are used to spin so the turbines spin, and then the turbines spin magnets, and those spinning magnets are what generate the electricity. How does a magnet work? Does it ever run out of magnetism? No. Permanent magnets are permanent. Essentially, you just have a whole bunch of electrons that are spinning in the same direction, locked in place. Do you ever plan on visiting CERN? If I get an invite, but probably won't happen. I'm going to be really busy this fall. How are determinism and quantum physics comparable? Well, quantum physics is... there's a tension there. But you can do something called like a quantum determinism, where you say that the entire wave function is determined, but the different branches behave as if they're undetermined. What powers the forces of nature? Charges. Mass, electric charge, color charge, weak charge. Where do you think our energy goes when we die? To the ground. Have you seen a PhD student get absolutely wrecked in his dissertation defense? I don't think I've actually gone to anybody else's, so I can't say. What's the theoretical best performing motor? Like thermodynamically, it's the Carnot engine, but that's not an electric motor, so. Is it true that a black hole will, with a rotation close to the light speed, cause the singularity to open? No, it has to be going at light speed, whatever that means. Well, no, okay, that's wrong. It has to be extremal, but it doesn't cause the singularity to open. What would pushing something in space or a vacuum feel like? Just like pushing something on the ground. Think we're getting nuclear fusion anytime soon? 15 years, maybe? What powers gravity? Mass. Mass and energy. What is quantum entanglement? So you have two shoes. If I hand you a left shoe, then it's entangled with the right shoe. It's a terrible analogy, but roughly the idea is that you can have a system that behaves like it's two separate things, but actually they're just one part of one thing, or they're just two different parts of a single system. What's the hard theoretical limit to tensile strength of a material? I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. Has anyone applied the Turing model of pattern formation as used in math bio towards CMBR? I have no idea. I'm not even familiar with the Turing model. What do you think about luminiferous ether? It's not real. Do you like philosophy of science? Yeah. Why do things far away agree to be small? It's a great question. Well, because if they were close, then they'd be big. Can you explain that the universe isn't locally real? Well, it might be. It's just not local, or it's not real, or not both. Local just means, if it's not local, all that means is that there is something that happens faster than light. And so the example here is that the quantum wave function might collapse, and it happens instantly everywhere. Alternatively, if it's not real, that just means that objects don't have properties until they're measured, until they're interacted with. So, like quantum systems don't have definite properties until they're interacted with. That's what realness means. I kind of lean towards the realness thing, but not really. There is a loop. Sorry, not a loop. There is a you can get around the not locally real thing if you suppose that experiments can have more than one outcome at a given time, and that's what the many worlds interpretation does. So you get realness back. What's a tip you would give for someone teaching physics 1 and 2 for the first time? It's a really good question. Make sure they ask you questions. Like, don't be afraid for it to be really awkward where you just stand there, and if you say, any questions? Just stand there and be awkward until someone asks you a question, because that'll help. Do you have opinions on physicists that enter the weapons development field? Look, get your bag, but I wouldn't do it. What paper do you recommend to read about Bekenstein bounds? You could go read the original papers by Bekenstein, and then there's one by Hawking that proved it. Ether's not real and no, ether's fake. What's the best book to read for interest in space? Neil deGrasse Tyson's, what is it? Astrophysics for Somebody in a Hurry or something like that is a good book. Do you use any of the AI models? Not for my job, no. What are the pop 3 stars that were supposed to be observed by JWST? They are the youngest stars that have the least metal in them. I haven't been following their observation, though. What's your opinion on the new cold fusion reevaluation? It's used for self-bending metal. That's not fusion, that's welding. It's cold welding, not cold fusion. Advice for someone interested in potentially pursuing mathematical physics with a math background. Oh, you'll be okay. Just start learning some physics. How does QFT apply to the extreme energies of the early universe? It basically tells you how particle formation happens. Is the universe expansion rate constant? No. No, it's accelerating. Does doing these lives help keep your mind sharp and retain the knowledge you know? Probably, yeah. Why does extensive times intensive equal an extensive? So intensive doesn't change with size. Extensive does change with size. So if you multiply the two, you're going to get something that changes with size. Entry-level jobs for BS in physics. Get an engineering job, I guess. Michelson-Morley experiment? What about it? Do we live in a simulation? No. What's the silliest mistake by a renowned physicist? I don't know. I don't know. How much longer is your postdoc? 9 months. Finishes on the 30th of April. Will you let people come in? Yeah, maybe today. Are we not moving near the speed of light standing still on Earth? Relative to what? That's always the question you have to ask when we're talking about speed. Have you ever blown something up while performing science experiments? I've nearly blown myself up while doing some things I shouldn't have been doing in my dorm room with electronics, but what have you been wrong about? Like literally everything while getting my PhD. That's how you learn. What's 700 plus 1? It's 1, obviously. How does vacuum energy and QFT relate to the cosmological constant problem? It probably doesn't, to be honest. All right, I'm going to bring up a guest to ask questions.
Hey, what's up, Dr. Blitz?
Hey, how's it going? What questions you got for me?
Hey, I was just hoping you could expand on what you said about the forces of nature. I mean, because to me, it seems like nothing powers them, and it's weird because they always exert a force, and I'm like, how does that work? Because I don't see anything powering it.
Well, I don't know what you mean by powering. Like
the forces of nature. I think electromagnetism is one, and I think gravity's one.
Yeah,
and
so electric force, so the electromagnetism is powered by charges. If there's a charge there, then there's an that charge applies forces to other charges. That's just what charges do.
Yeah, I might have to look into that. It just seems strange. Like it's like there's this thing that's always exerting a force or multiple things in the universe, and I don't see any power source. Like for us to have a force on Earth,
what would
like
it
we
mean
have
to have a power force? A power source for like electric fields?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I asked. I don't know, and I was kind of scratching my head. I was like, how does this work? But I'll look into what you said.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care.
All right.
Don't be mean in the comments. Just be chill. Can you explain Gojo's infinity? No, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Please stop spamming it. Do you think we're alone? No, I don't think so. How long did it take to get a PhD? From my master's, it took 5 years, which is on the long side, but my excuse is that I was doing it during the pandemic. So, isn't a force a change in some quantity? A force is that which causes acceleration, roughly. Why did you seem frustrated with that gentleman's question? I wasn't frustrated. It's just a hard question to answer because I don't know what the question means. Sorry, it's hard to turn off mean when we only get one ask a physicist a day. Ask a physicist a day but 4 debates. No, you get 3 days of debates. What's your best explanation of a steradian? It's like an angle but in space, right? It's rather than 2-dimensional, it's a 3-dimensional angle. Any good universities to recommend? Maybe Central Europe. I don't know the European universities very well. I don't know how they rank. So you stream and have a full-time job and you're married, you must be busy. Yes, that is true. I am all of those things. What's your undergrad? I did a bachelor's in physics and a bachelor's in mathematics. Hercules tortoise on an infinite scale. What does that mean? Are you going live this Sunday with Danny? Look, so we decided either we're going to do lives or we're just going to play Age of Empires. That's sometimes more fun. Depends on what mood he's in and what mood I'm in. But actually, this weekend I'm going to be in Cambridge, so not this weekend. Well, actually, maybe this weekend. We'll see. What do you think about the end of existence? I don't think it will end. Can there be more than one expanding universe outside the observable universe? It depends on what you mean by more than one expanding universe, I guess. How do you think entanglement is going to be utilized? The way I would think is by like unbreakable quantum encryption. Is your wife also a physicist? No. How is it possible for the universe to expand so quickly after the Big Bang? isn't light speed max. No, so the rate of expansion has nothing to do with the speed. It's a doubling time. Doubling times aren't speeds. How long do you do math a day? Most of the day. It's theoretically possible to travel in the future. Yeah, we're doing it right now. Can Bro explain the physics behind Einstein's Diddy party? I don't know what that means. Do you think we'll find a way to get really good images in the nearest exoplanet? I hope so. I'm in my 50s, but I've always wanted to learn physics. What would be the best way to start? It depends on what level your math is. If your math is good enough, you can just pick up an intro-level textbook and get started. Can you summarize Maxwell's equations? Yes. df equals 0 and d star f equals 0, which is very boring. Alternatively, it's roughly that electric fields diverge and don't curl. Magnetic fields curl but don't diverge, except electric fields curl when magnetic fields change, and magnetic fields diverge when electric fields change. That's how you do it. Roughly. Yeah, she's a lawyer. How do we know definitively that the universe is expanding? Well, either we're the center of the universe. Well, actually, no, then it would still be expanding. Things are moving away from us in all directions, and that's what expanding means. All right, this person's going to get a mute. How many physicists does it take to change a light bulb? There's a good answer to this joke, and I don't remember what it is. Do you think flat Earth is a psyop? No, unfortunately, no. Have you ever accidentally had a derealization learning physics? I don't know what that means. Sorry. Sorry. How do you know when a paper is ready for publishing? I'm a PhD physics student. I don't know. It's kind of a vibes thing. Honestly, it's kind of a vibes thing. When it feels done, and that might be 50 pages or it might be 6 pages. Like if you tell a complete story, that's all you need. Now, if it's too short, like if it's 1 or 2 pages, maybe you should add that to another paper. But two magnetars collide at 99% speed of light. Would the explosion be bigger than a hypernova? I have no idea. I have no idea. Is energy density of the vacuum extremely large? 10 to the 120 of the constant. No, that's not the energy density of the vacuum. That's what naive calculations say it should be, which means that the naive calculations are wrong. Want to create the formula to replace all the rest of what? Are there 2 sums? No, there's 1. How does science play well with socialism? Yeah, actually, a lot of famous scientists were socialists. A lot. In fact, I think Einstein was, or at least socialist adjacent, so it's not so uncommon. Can we approximate our position in the universe based off of rate of expansion from different sides? Yes, actually. We are not stationary with respect to the expansion of the universe. We are actually moving in a particular direction. I don't remember what direction it is. And so when you make these maps of the cosmic microwave background radiation, you actually have to kind of subtract out that motion. Otherwise, one part of the sky would seem hotter than the other part of the sky. To get a PhD, you have to do original research, or can you do something already done? No, it has to be original. What really are virtual particles? They're not real. They're not real particles. It's just a mathematical trick that big physics is trying to lie to you about. And no, I don't think that we're alone. Is it possible another universe could spawn from quantum matter? Probably not, but, you know. Does electricity in circuits measured as joules per coulomb or volts per meter? Both. You're talking about electric fields. I'm sorry. Voltage is joules per coulomb. Volts per meter is the electric field. How reliable is carbon dating? Very reliable, up to around 50,000 years. What really are virtual particles? They're mathematical tricks that big physics is trying to use to shut you down and confuse you. Do you think singularities don't exist? Yes, I think singularities don't exist. What do you do if you're failing classical mechanics class? Get good? No, but more seriously than that. Go to office hours. How do we know one part of the sky isn't hotter than the other? Well, look, it is from one reference frame, but from another reference frame, it's homogeneous and isotropic. Is time actually being bent? Yeah, sure. Are you happy? Generally. Is the rate of it, I mean, like, lately, you know, there have been some issues, but, you know, generally speaking, I'm a pretty happy person. I've never had depression, so. What are your thoughts on the Casimir effect? It's cool. Do you think the one electron universe is possible? No. Are you going to be joining Mihai George's live? Yes, in about 35 minutes. Are we close to the middle of the universe? No. What happens when there's no new research left for new PhD candidates? That will never happen. There will never be no new research left. So can we leave our atmosphere and go into space? Yes, absolutely. Do you think so? Oh, I already answered that. Why did you get fired from being a professor? I didn't get fired. I graduated. I wasn't a professor. I was an associate instructor, and I graduated. I was a grad student teaching a class, and then I graduated. Ethnic background, I'm not Latino, no, I'm Jewish. What does it mean when we talk about the size of black holes? What diameter is it? It's the diameter of the event horizon. I didn't get fired. I don't know why you think that. Can someone temp ban me so you work? No. Yeah, no, I know. I know I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Is time just another way to perceive length like someone in his reflection? No, time is what a clock does. Can you explain the quantum machine? Which quantum machine? All right, I'm going to bring up a guest. Ken, the subscriber, coming up for the guest. Ken, how's it going?
Not bad. Close my door. I'm at work, so. So my question has to do with something you stated last week, that the rate of expansion of the universe is doubling in size every 10 billion years, I think is what you said.
Yeah, roughly.
So, but you also stated that, so my question last week was that if it's expanding at every 10 billion years, why is the universe so much bigger now than, since it's only been 14 billion years? You said it was very fast. It expanded very fast early on.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to draw a graph like that expansion? Was it like really fast, slow down, and speed up, or?
Yep. That's exactly what happened. Yep.
Okay, that was confusing to me. So that was
Yeah.
only question.
So between about, you know, say a second after the Big Bang, up to about what, like 7 or 8 billion years ago, it was actually slowing down.
Oh, okay.
But then it got big enough that the gravity started to be overcome by the dark energy. It's something like that. I can look up the numbers, but I can't look at my computer right now because it's currently recording this live. But yeah, it's very, very fast, very, very initially. Then it slows down due to gravity, and then dark energy eventually wins out, and it starts accelerating again.
Okay, that's something I've never heard of, so that's really cool.
Yep, of course. Anything else?
Well, thank you. No, that's all I had.
All right, sounds good, Ken. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Zach, thanks for the glasses. Do you think the fundamental forces through years of evolution play a part in social dynamics? No. How long does it take to get a PhD in physics? For me, it took 5 years, but that was after my master's, and you know, the pandemic. It was during pandemic years, so meh. What is time? Time is what a clock does. Is folding space theoretically viable? I don't think so. What happens when you drill a hole through the earth and jump in with and without air resistance? Without air resistance, you would fall down in about 45 minutes. You'd reach the other side, and then you'd fall the other way. With air resistance, you would just oscillate back and forth until you ended up at the center. Why is there more matter than antimatter in the universe? Excellent question. How will the universe likely end? I don't think it will. Is dark matter being created, or is there a certain amount? I suspect there's a certain amount, but it's hard to say. Was there new evidence from April this year that the expansion rate is slowing down? No. It's that the acceleration rate, it's still speeding up, but it's speeding up by less. Is energy finite? Only if the universe is. What do you think of Stephen Greer? I don't. Do you think space-time is substantial or relational? I'm gradually being more and more convinced of the relational interpretation. What do you think of Dr. Yeah. If you fell from the moon till Earth at terminal velocity, would you take no fall? What? Does everything end after 152 billion years in the Big Rip? I suspect the Big Rip won't happen. If a hole was through the Earth, wouldn't there be air resistance? Yeah, of course there would. Could dark energy just be a variable we were using because we were missing some understanding of gravity? Absolutely, people are working on that. The toughest concept for you to understand in undergrad? Probably something to do with the partial derivative relations in thermodynamics. That's always been weird for me. Time what a clock does, then time stops when clock stops. No, so like you can just define time as some sort of like relation between systems. And so a clock, you would have a clock system and a system, and then the clock system changes and tells you that's a way to measure how long has passed for the other system. Why was Stephen Hawking on Epstein's guest list? I think Epstein hosted scientific things occasionally. I suspect nothing was sus during that whole business with Hawking. I mean, he was in a wheelchair. Like, what else was he going to do? But, you know, he's dead now. Is it possible we're living in an enormous black hole? I suspect not. If energy and mass are neither created nor destroyed, wouldn't the universe be finite due to that? Energy and mass can be created in an expanding universe. How to explain the Higgs field and its application to massive objects in the Higgs boson. There was actually a really good article that I'd suggest you read. I saw it on Reddit a few days ago. It was basically, I think it was called like a new analogy for the Higgs boson or something, or for the Higgs field. Go read it. It'll give you a better explanation than I would. Do you know your IQ? I don't. What is the singularity? Was it the state of the universe before the Big Bang? No, the singularity is, it's a place where the mathematics describing a system becomes infinity. And so what that means is that your mathematics is wrong, because infinite density doesn't exist in the real world. Infinite energy doesn't exist in the real world in a finite place, right? Two stars traveling the speed of light opposite directions, space between them will expand faster than light. Stars can't travel the speed of light. But yeah, the distance between two things could definitely grow faster than the speed of light, absolutely. Thoughts on dark travel? I've never seen Neverending Story 2, so I can't say. Hawking was actually sus? I mean, what could he have been doing? Why don't you think the universe will end? Can you elaborate? Well, I don't even know what that would mean. What did Stephen Hawking discover? Hawking radiation. Named after him. He also proved the Bekenstein bound on black hole entropy. He also came up with the he was one of the people for the Hartle-Hawking model. He also did a lot on early universe cosmology. He did a lot on black hole thermodynamics. Could you explain how how time stops at the speed of light? Time doesn't stop at the speed of light. You can't go at the speed of light. There is no time slows down as you approach the speed of light. Is all math just excitations of quantum fields? Yep. Do you think there will be a time where we have nothing new to learn in physics? I don't know. I kind of hope not. Which physicists do you currently follow or are inspired by? I don't know if I follow any, but there are some people that I pay attention to. Like if Penrose says something, I'm going to pay attention to that. What discovery do you want to find most? I'd like anything about dark energy. That'd be good. Do you think physical laws actually cause events, or are they helpful tools for understanding? The latter. I think they're descriptive, not prescriptive. What is Hawking radiation? Hawking radiation is how black holes evaporate. They give off a little tiny bit of a radiation and it takes away some of their mass. Would a singularity be similar to the limit of a function? Yes, except that it's only if that limit doesn't exist. Is it possible that the observable universe is the event horizon of a black hole viewed from inside? It's possible, but I don't think it's true. What's your favorite research that you worked on? Honestly, it was the quantum gravity project I worked on. That was really neat. And I think like I'm gonna, once this one gets published, I'm probably once this paper gets published, I'm probably gonna go back to working on that because that was fun. Where do you work? I want to go into physics career. I work at a university. Can you speak Klingon? No. If I swing a really long stick, why doesn't the tip of the stick get close to the speed of light? It's a good question. And it actually, basically the answer to that question is there's no such thing as a rigid body in special relativity. The stick, like the forces holding the stick together, literally can't be strong enough to hold it together to make it so that it stays rigid if it's long enough. Do you pay attention to Eric Weinstein? No, not at all. Any physicist trying to get rid of expansion analogs to have speed of light is constant? I don't know what you mean. Roger Penrose is 93 years old. Right. I'm actually going to go see him speak in a week, actually. I'm going to go to a live lecture of his. Sorry, I have the hiccups. When are you going to join Mihai George? In 20 minutes or so? Is the speed of the universe expanding slowing down? No, it's still accelerating. Where's the lecture? It's in Cambridge. Do you pay attention to Harvey Weinstein? No. What was the worst part about getting a PhD? I loved it. I thought it was great. I know magnetic poles exist, but who decided north is north and south is south? Probably people in the north. What's the circle in the middle of the Feynman diagram? It's called a virtual electron-positron loop. What was your biggest struggle in school? Honestly, I should have read more. What's the difference between physicist and astrophysicist? An astrophysicist is just a type of physicist that does astro stuff. Who is Mihai George and why are we joining them? He does debates. He also does science outreach. He's based in Romania. He asked me to come up, so I'm going to do it. Best Jeffrey Combs Star Trek character? It's definitely the Jeffries tubes. I loved his role in the Jeffries tubes. Where do you find a lecture near you? Well, I'm only going to the lecture because I'm going to a conference that he's going to be at. What's your opinion on the statement math is made up? It is made up. Would you consider a second PhD? If so, what would you like to study? Nah, I used to say that I wanted to get 2 PhDs, but it'd be a waste of time. Do you teach at a university? No. Did your current program take you to the Czech Republic? I have a job in the Czech Republic at a university. I'm not a grad student. So the reason I got this job is because the person I'm working with here was doing very similar things to what I was doing during grad school. So it was a natural place to go. Who's library joining? It'll be public. You guys can come join. Penrose Quantum Mind. I don't really buy it, but we give him a lot of leeway because he's Penrose. Penrose is like the living goat, right? The living goat of relativity. Are you a fan of simulation theories? No. No, not at all. What's harder, mathematics or physics? Physics. In my opinion, it's physics, easily. No, actually, I should rephrase. Math is harder to do. Physics is harder to... math is harder to do for things that are already true. Physics is harder to do new research in. Are there any well-renowned contemporary physicists who are not classically trained? Yeah, Ed Witten has a bachelor's degree in history and is probably the most brilliant physicist alive. What language do you teach in? I don't teach here. It's just a research position. What's your opinion on the Feynman technique? It's super smart. Are we getting closer to holograms via light projection? I suspect not. Starting your physics journey soon. Any tips? Go to office hours. Smarter than Mike B. I think Patience is the home. Who's Mike B? Oh, Mike Brigandy. Oh, I don't know a lot about him. He's a cool guy though, and I appreciate that he's vegan. Was live streaming hard at first? I remember I found you on STEM page when you were newer. No, I've always loved to hear myself talk, so it's pretty easy for me, to be honest. And I had years of actually lecturing to students, so it wasn't that hard. Is Al-Khwarizmi the goat of mathematics? No. The goat of mathematics is Euler. Leonard Euler. Man is the goat. That guy published on average 900 pages a year for his entire life. 900 pages of mathematics a year for his entire life. Penrose is the last of the Mohicans. True. What was the name of the guy who's the most brilliant? Edward Witten. What's it like living in the Czech Republic without knowing or speaking Czech? Get by. Are there physics proofs like math majors do mathematical proofs? Yeah, they're like math proofs, except they leave out the rigor. Are you vegan? No, I'm not vegan. But I respect vegans a lot. Um, 900 pages. Yeah, 900 pages of brand new mathematics every year. It's easier to talk about things that Euler didn't do. Exactly. There's an old joke that for the discovery of anything in mathematics, you can't name it after the first person who discovered it because it would be Euler. So they have to name it after the second person who discovered it. Yeah, bro's the founder of proper numbers. How does Witten have a degree in history and is doing physics? Well, he got his bachelor's in history, and then he decided he wanted to do physics. So he took some classes, and then he got a PhD in physics. That's what happened. Is mathematical skill genetic? I don't know. I suspect probably not. Will there come a time when the universe is just empty space? Maybe. Why don't you like Platonism? It just seems like magic. Thoughts on Frank Wilczek's SU5 unification? That's pretty old, isn't it? If there's a new thing, I haven't heard about it. How did Euler publish when he was blind? Hell if I know. Thoughts on Gauss? If Euler was the king of mathematics, Gauss was the prince. Gauss made modern mathematics. Thoughts on anti-gravity? We don't have it. It's not real as far as I know. What's your favorite movie currently? My favorite movie, Pacific Rim, is definitely up there. Blue People Avatar is also up there. Blades of Glory is up there. Pop Star is up there. Will there ever be another Einstein or Newton, or do we know too much now? I suspect we know too much now. Do you feel the pressure of publishing? Yes. Physicist is a bit broad. I mean, I am a physicist. It's like my job. Who do you look up to the most? I mean, if they're alive, honestly, probably my advisor, just because I know him and I trust his advice, and he's brilliant. He's brilliant, even though he doesn't look like he's brilliant. He looks like a wacky dude, but he's actually brilliant. But dead people, it's Albert Einstein. It's got to be the goat, right? Do you think the average person can get a PhD in physics? Objectively, no. The average, I read somewhere that like the average IQ of a PhD in physics, the average IQ of somebody who holds a PhD in physics is like 130, and that's 2 standard deviations. So 2 standard deviations is what, top 5% or something like that. So like generally, no. Just statistically, that's not likely to be the case. Blades of Glory is amazing. I love that movie, and I reference it so much, and nobody gets it anymore. That movie, I think that movie is 20 years old. You look pretty tall, so you probably don't. Yeah, I am 6'2". That's true. Can you explain theoretical confidence in sigma terms? Yeah, sigma is basically how how big would your so in some sense you get a measurement, and if you assume that your measurement follows a normal distribution, you can at least figure out what the probability is that if your error follows a normal distribution, you can figure out what the probability is based off of a normal distribution. That like, for example, your measurement is actually due to a measurement error. And so if you're 5 standard deviations, 5 sigma, away from the null hypothesis, then that means that you roughly 1 in a million chance of it being wrong. Rank these fellows: Euclid, Newton, Riemann, Gauss, Euler. As far as mathematicians go, Euler, Gauss, Newton, Euclid, Riemann, maybe, but they're all amazing. Yeah, I'm actually 7'8" and 300 pounds. IQ has less correlation with physics than business does, from what some studies show. Really? Okay. Do you think Tesla could have achieved wireless energy transmission? No. Leibniz absolutely gets love. He's one of the most influential mathematicians and philosophers of the Enlightenment era. All right, y'all. It is time. I am going to go. I'm going to end the live here. So if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching.